What does the red text mean? Which Aeon is she an emanator of? Acheron holds many secrets about who she is and what she means. In order to discuss what the red text means, we first have to theorize which Aeon and path Acheron may be an emanator for. There are two Aeons that Acheron seems to be most likely the emanator of: IX from the path of Nihility and Terminus from the path of Finality. The greatest evidence that we have that Acheron is an emanator of Nihility is from the relic set Pioneer Diver of Dead Waters, a relic set which features similar flowers to that shown in Acheron's official art. This relic set talks about how two girls, a girl with a long sword and Freebass, a nameless, make their way into the depths of IX, leading to Freebass's death. IX is an Aeon that is a black hole with two eyes. This relic set describes a dash of crimson blinking briefly into existence in the center of a pitch black world, mirroring Acheron's line to us.
But please believe me that in that monochrome world, there will be a glimpse of fleeting red. And when you make a choice, it will reappear before you once more.
This could also be a reference to Acheron given the red imagery in her splash art. In both the relic set and in her conversation with us, she also mentions a predetermined end. Freebass may be who Acheron was referring to in her line about a blood debt. Acheron's opening illustrates her crying, which may be in reference to her time with Freebass. There are a couple of things we've noted about Acheron. She seems to have spotty memory, might have the ability to manipulate time or see and carry out multiple paths or alternate realities, and can sometimes hear others' thoughts and speak to people in their mind. These ideas can also be seen in the story of this relic set regarding IX. In the relic set, Freebass slowly loses her memory during her time venturing into IX, and so Acheron's relation to IX could be why she often cannot remember details. Freebass is also stated to have died for 14 days and 14 nights, which could suggest some sort of time manipulation or time slowing down due to the effect of the black hole of IX. We also see this manipulation of time with our own interaction with IX in the simulated universe. The databank states that IX makes mortals lose all reason and thought. As such, it's possible that Acheron's ability to speak in our head and make particular choices, such as forcing us to add her to the party, comes from a similar emotional manipulation, though IX doesn't explicitly have telepathic abilities. IX is all about apathy and meaninglessness. As such, we could argue that it would be unlikely that they will appoint an emanator, though there are other IX followers such as the Doctors of Chaos and Device IX that have formed not due to any action that IX has taken. Even gaining IX's glimpse does nothing, but yet, despite IX seeming to be inactive, it does take these meaningless glimpses. As such, Acheron may have only become an emanator if IX deemed it to be a meaningless act, something that doesn't amount to anything. This could be why Acheron cries, because her attempt to change anything is ultimately meaningless and futile. The path is still as it is. The other Aeon and path that Acheron may be an emanator of is Terminus, the Aeon of Finality. This comes as a suggestion from Aventurine. Terminus is said to move backwards in time, and some of Acheron's actions can be explained should she too be moving backwards in time. For instance, this may explain why Acheron was crying at the beginning of the quest, and says that any answer we give is inconsequential, as she may have known that in that moment that the path was set, there was nothing more she could do to change the outcome or the situation. Terminus is also said to be murmuring a prophecy that is destined to be fulfilled, similar to how Acheron mentions a predetermined end. We may have cried too at the beginning of the quest because we have somehow also engaged the gaze of this Aeon. We, the MC, have engaged the gaze of Nanook and received the lands from the Amber Lord of Preservation. If we too have seen the Aeon of Finality, that may explain the flash of memories we were shown in the beginning, as we also have some memory of going backwards in the same way Acheron does. Acheron's Dreamscape Pass also features this quote: "Destiny is like a thread, and it must be snapped when necessary." This is a possible reference to the Fates in Greek mythology, similar to her name Acheron. If Acheron has some part in the end of someone's life, similar to that of Atropos, one of the three fates that cuts the thread of life, it may be due to her powers as an emanator of Finality.
We all have our paths to walk.
In the Pioneer Diver relic set, there is a line that states, "Oh, you who turn the wheel and watch the wind, think of Freebass," which may be a reference to the Wheel of Fortune, another reference to Greek mythology. Moreover, Acheron's character reveal features this line: "Lone voyagers in the cosmos are driven by two desires, to tread in the trails of the past and to forge their own way, but under their scrutiny, most end up adhering to the former." There is most likely referring to Terminus, and the line may suggest how difficult it can be to step away from someone's past or fate, especially coupled with this line from Black Swan's character story. People tend to believe that they are facing the present and the future, yet fail to realize that we are all, in fact, moving toward the past. The Celeron Hunters, too, call themselves slaves of destiny, though Fu Hua doesn't share this sentiment, stating that fate is fickle and to believe in yourself. Whichever aeon and path Acheron may be an emanator of, it's important to note that this is Aventurine telling this to us, and he may be lying in the same way that anyone in Penacony may be lying. From knowing these possible theories regarding Acheron's emanator status, we can now theorize what meaning Acheron's red text holds. What we know about the red text is that sometimes they change and sometimes they don't. Acheron's white text doesn't seem to change at all, and the red text can change but doesn't always. There is one instance where the red text changes depending on which MC you picked, Kalos or Stel. Outside of that, if you reload the game when some of the red text shows up, you do get a different option. This means that when the red text does change, the chances of you getting each of them is likely random, instead of being due to anything you've chosen previously. The first theory is that the red text could be considered something similar to canon events. We usually see life in a linear way, like a series of paths that can occur, where the red text could be where the situation diverges to a different path. So from this, we can start to theorize 5 ways that this might be happening. The first theory is that we are going through all of these choices in real time, where we go through the first choice, everyone forgets what happened, and then we go through it again. Somehow, maybe due to her emanator powers, Acheron has held on to the fragments of what has happened, whereas others haven't. The second theory is that it's more like a time loop, where time is going backwards and forwards. Acheron answers the question one way, time goes backwards, and then Acheron answers again differently. This would make these different paths more like alternate realities. Acheron or another character like Misha, who does seem to have some relation to time, could be creating this effect, and Acheron herself would then somewhat remember these paths due to her emanator powers. It's also possible that we meet Acheron first when entering the dreamscape, as she may have been the one who resets the time loop. The third theory is that when one path happens through some sort of power, emanator or aeon or otherwise, all options are lived through and seen all at once. However, similar to being Mara-struck, the mind gets overloaded with all these memories, and so Acheron forgets much of it and only remembers fragments in order to keep her mind sane. The fourth theory is that broken off pieces of Acheron are scattered throughout all possible timelines, and this happened as a result of the black hole that Acheron walked into during her path towards IX. This is similar to Clara Oswald from Doctor Who, and would explain her spotty memory. 5. All of this had happened in a dream or in the past to help us play out what might happen in the future, which does sound like something Sparkle might have a hand in.
Dreams are often the reverse of reality.
So it's possible a lot or all of what had happened in the past may have only happened in a dream. Like we've talked about before with Acheron, the white text doesn't change, the red text can change but doesn't always. This could mean that the red text could be both events meant to happen in Destiny and events that cause a split in the timeline. The red text could also be Acheron trying to wake us up or change our path. So the second theory about what the red text may be is her using her powers on us. This theory of her using her powers on us comes from the fact that if you refuse to let Acheron join your party when you're with Black Swan multiple times, you won't be able to refuse her at the last time. Instead, if you select the red text that replaces your usual refusal, the MC questions it, asking, "What's that weird feeling again?" Acheron does seem to have abilities that can tie in with the aeons of Finality and Nihility. Both Terminus and IX have the ability to experience time differently. Terminus experiences time backwards, whereas IX seems to warp time, as seen from Freebass dying over 14 days and nights. Acheron can also speak in our mind and read our thoughts, and so it's possible that she can also manipulate our answers somehow. The third theory is that the red text is an alternate form of hers. This comes from the fact that in both Honkai Impact 3 and Genshin Impact, Raiden has these two different aspects of her, and Acheron may be an XP of Raiden in these games. For instance, in Genshin, Raiden has both her puppet and her actual Archon form. There's a line where Acheron seems to repeat a phrase that was said to Raiden from Yae Miko in Honkai Impact, which could suggest that, similar to how Welt is the same character in both Honkai Impact and Star Rail, Acheron could actually be Raiden as well, but had forgotten. If she does have an alternate form, there are various theories about what this alternate form may be. It may be her emanator side, where there is an alternate version of her that has her emanator power powers and abilities separate to actual Acheron. When meeting Zype the Harmony Aeon in the simulated universe God and Gears, she speaks to you in both blue and red text at the same time, using different words for the same sentence. As such, the red text could hint at an Aeon or other powerful personality like an Emanator talking instead of Acheron herself, or an all-knowing version of Acheron, or it may be that one version of Acheron is living time in the correct way, while the other is living time backwards. Or maybe even some sort of fragment of freebas. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing. It takes 1,000 subscribers to become monetized on YouTube, and I would really appreciate being able to reach that point. Stay tuned for more lore videos. Please follow me on my journey. Thank you. Bye.